Folks, several weeks ago, on November 18th, 2025, six members of Congress released a video that unleashed a firestorm because they advised members of the military not to obey illegal orders. Mind you, they did not say do not obey any orders from the president. It just said do not obey illegal orders. Um, but the right, of course, they breathlessly went on air and on the internet. Oh my God, they're seditious. They're the seditious six. They're saying don't obey the president. Let's just, for argument's sake, let's just play that clip now so you can see for yourself.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military,
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Okay, you get the idea. Not once did anyone mention do not obey any order from the president. Just said do not obey illegal orders. Simple, right? And then video was recently unearthed from 2016 in which a similar speech was made, shockingly, by a person who now ranks very high in the military. And I'm just going to read some of those words. There are some guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard. In fact, let me just play some of those comments for you now.
There are some guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
So, yeah, it's funny because it wasn't any one of these six Democrats. No, in fact, it was none other than former weekend Fox News host, and current Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Yeah, this was back when he apparently did believe that there is such a thing as illegal orders. And what I think is important to take away from his speech is the very last thing he said there. He said, there's a belief that we are above what so many things our enemies or others would do. Why is that? That is because the United States, for as long as I can remember, has occupied some kind of a moral high ground, right? In all matters concerning warfare, like, we are the good guys. We don't use mustard gas on people. And I know it's debatable. There are some people who say, what about drone strikes? And what about this? What about that? You can cherry pick incidents where we are the bad guy. And I won't argue those facts there. But what I will say is overall, we like to do the right thing. That's in our DNA as Americans. That's what makes us great. That's who we are. So we have a guy, Pete Hegseth, who is apparently put, and by the way, he wanted to court-martial one of those who I call the Constitutional Six, Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly, former naval officer, astronaut, and current sitting U.S. senator. He wanted to court-martial him for telling people basically what he said in 2016, not to obey illegal orders. But now we found out that Pete Hegseth put military members in jeopardy by carelessly using the signal chat for one of his operations, literally saying, now is when we're going to drop the bombs. This is insane. So we are going to get into today the current fiasco that Pete Hegseth is involved in which he is possibly given orders to kill shipwrecked people in the middle of the ocean. And yeah, sure, some people are saying, oh, they were drug dealers. Well, last time I checked, we're not assassinating or killing drug dealers. We're not. We are apprehending them and we're arresting them. And by the way, it's not usually the job of the military. It is the Coast Guard that does that. So we're going to get into what kinds of war crimes Pete Hegseth is involved in. And we're also going to get into some other things like the pipe bomber. The DC pipe bomber has been found. Maybe that's him. Maybe it ain't. It's too early to say. It's just the beginning of their investigation, conveniently. We're going to get into Aftyn Behn's very narrow loss. I say narrow because that was a district that Donald Trump won by 22 points, and she came pretty close to pulling away a win. Why am I looking at a loss as a victory? We'll get into that and more. So I hope you're ready, because I am. Let's go. Storytime. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Happy Friday, guys. Happy Friday. I hope you are all well and rested and fat and fed. Well, maybe not fat, but well fed from last week. Last week was Thanksgiving. We had a special Wednesday episode last week so that Brooklyn Dad could enjoy his food coma in peace on Friday. And I did. I had some fun tending to the kittens, who are very adorable. They're about 2 weeks old now, and they're a handful. They're literally a handful. You could fit like 3 of them in one hand. And so let me jump right in here. I have a few comments that I saw that were interesting. I'm going to put this on the screen here. This is from Mick the Quick. He says, "It's not a war crime, you morons. You guys repeat the same shit over and over and wonder why your party is dying." Well, Mick, I got news for you. I actually have receipts. I have receipts, 3 different kinds that say that you, my friend, are full of shit. So if you care to hang around and wait for that, you're not going to have to wait too long. I am going to hit you with the receipts. So don't go anywhere. I put your name on the screen so you can feel the full effect of your ignorance when I expose it. Let's see. Who else do we have here at the top here? It's a good comment right at the top saying, F Trump and MAGA. Pete needs to get off his knees and stop. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Dale E. Newspaper saying, so what happened to that way of thinking? I don't know what way of thinking. I don't know what way of thinking you're talking about here. But let's say, so those folks are from Twitter. I refuse to call it X. So welcome, guys. Valerie G is here. Joanne Kennedy is here. Marie Haley, welcome. Bernadette H, the Trump Reaper. Lucy. Asmila J, Monique Lee. Claudia is here. Meredith Powell. Meredith Powell actually had a comment there. And if anyone has seen my friend Zelda, please give her a shout out from BDD. Let her know that our thoughts and prayers are with her. I hope she is doing okay. Trey Ann 7 is here. Cecile Kazemi, I see. I saw Cecile on another show I did this week. I'm not sure which show it was. And Anna Antichrist, thank you for reposting this stream. I appreciate that. Sandra from Paramount, California is here. As Mila J says, she stands with the seditious 6, but I'm calling them the constitutional 6. I know seditious is one fewer syllable, but that's what I'm going with. It's more accurate. Watcher Soko is here. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta. There's the war crime comment. I can't wait to to expose your ignorance, bro. Really. I got it for you. I got it. Got a whole pocket full of it. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into what I like to call the stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
All right. So Hegseth's War Crimes is the headline story of the day. And there's a picture of an unhinged Pete Hegseth. That's a picture from when he addressed a bunch of generals at Quantico. And that didn't go over well. And I think overall, his persona, his demeanor is not where it's already wearing thin with the rank and file at the Pentagon. So Sleepy Don had another cabinet meeting this week, and he woke up long enough to spew some hatred at Somalians in general and at Ilhan Omar in particular. And we'll discuss why Ilhan Omar was able to easily brush it right off and keep it moving. The DC pipe bomber, remember? Remember back when we thought that was Marjorie Three Toes? I was so disappointed when I found out it wasn't. Just because we were sure. I mean, the whole build, the beach body built, plop, pop, pop, pop. But yeah, it wasn't her. I'm not 100% sure that the guy that they have is the suspect, but there is an interesting factoid. You will be interested to learn about this guy. It's a little surprising who that person follows. And last but not least, a really unfit Pete Hegseth is engaged in some some very iffy activities in the military, and he's putting his fellow officers in jeopardy. He's putting America's national security in jeopardy. And we will cover that all very shortly. If it's your first time here, please hit subscribe, like the like button, like thumbs up, and the subscribe in the lower right hand corner of your screen. Please hit that and make sure you hit the little notification thing there so you don't miss any content coming out of this channel. This I put out a new Substack, and the title of it was "The Price of a Protest Vote: Dearborn and the Return of Fear Politics." And the subtitle says, "This Muslim man has seen enough foreign ice raids and the protest vote." You were probably all kind of pissed off when you saw groups of people take a stand and say that they were not going to vote for Kamala Harris because they felt she was complicit and that she didn't do enough to stop the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza. I can't defend, I cannot defend. I can't defend what the Biden and Harris administration did as far as that's concerned. I can't, because I feel that frustration too. That said, this election was a binary choice. It's not like, we had 5 different people with a legitimate shot at winning. We only had 2. One of whom told Israel, finish the job. The other one was not helpful. Agreed. But would they have been better? Would they have been rounding up fellow Muslims in unmarked vans by masked thugs? I don't think so. And that, my friends, is what's happening right now in Dearborn, the very place, one of the biggest Muslim strongholds in Michigan, that sadly decided to either go with Trump or just go third party, Jill Stein, and not vote, or not vote at all. So what's happening now? Here's what we know. Dearborn officials and community leaders are warning that ICE raids are imminent. Muslim families have been told to prepare for enforcement operations. Schools, mosques, and civic centers are on alert. Legal support networks are mobilizing. And as of now, there is no confirmed reporting of raids already taking place. No families dragged out, no doors kicked in, not yet. Doesn't mean it's not coming. It is coming. This community voted in part to send a message. Dearborn Muslims and Michigan Muslims as a whole voted overwhelmingly not to help Trump win the presidency, but to punish and defeat Kamala Harris over Gaza. A statewide CAIR exit poll of Michigan Muslims showed only 20% for Harris, 21% for Trump, and a commanding 59% for Jill Stein, confirming the community's primary goal was sending a message to the Democratic Party rather than delivering the state to Trump. And now the message coming back is the one some of us feared all along. So, I would say message received. I would say, the Democratic Party definitely sat up and took note. As someone who attended the DNC, I was disappointed that they did not have one speaker speak on behalf of the Palestinian people. I was very disappointed in that. Very disappointed, because the right wing has been very effective at branding Palestinians as terrorists. That's what Israel has been. That's their game plan. That's their propaganda. But we know better. We know that all Palestinians are not terrorists. Most, I would say most, are not terrorists. There's half of their population are under 18. They're kids. And so many of them suffered starvation, watching their families die. And yeah, and we did continue to send bombs and missiles. And like I said, I can't defend it. I won't defend it. But I do know that when it is a binary choice, like it or not, you got to hold your nose and pull the lever for the one that is going to be less destructive. Some people think that they are going to survive a Trump presidency, and maybe they're right. Maybe they won't get snatched up. Maybe their grandma, their grandpa, their uncle, their cousin, their mother, their brother won't get dragged into a van and disappeared forever and sent to Sudan or El Salvador, God forbid. That unsurvivable, that jail that they say you can't get out of. Once you get in, you don't get out. So I'm not here. My Substack this week was not to say I told you so, because I'm too fucking pissed off for that. But yeah, don't do that shit again. Please do not. Let's talk about Pete Hegseth a minute, because this is a guy who oozes, even when he's fully clothed, right? Even when he's got a business shirt on and a suit, he oozes frat boy energy. This is a guy, and I'm not even talking about his, affinity for alcohol. We all, not me, I haven't had a drink in over 22 years. But there's plenty of people who have a glass of wine with their dinner and drink occasionally. But we have been told that he has a drinking problem. And I am inclined to believe that drinking problem is active, because his behavior is increasingly erratic. He, if I had to compare him to one character, it would be Cartman doing the respect my authority. He is not, when I say I prefer a Secretary of Defense who is sober, I don't mean, in the non-alcoholic sense. I mean, like in the past, we've had secretaries of defense whose names actually I didn't even know, because I didn't need to know, because they weren't unhinged. You had your Donald Rumsfeld, I remember him, Chuck Hagel, Mattis, General Mattis there. We had Mark Esper, even Dick Cheney, who was disgusting, Leon Panetta. There's a whole list of guys who didn't have that frat boy energy, who you didn't give a shit what party they belonged to. It didn't matter, because the Secretary of Defense is not supposed to be a political position. He's not supposed to give a shit about whether or not Democrats are what they're doing. He's supposed to care about he or she supposed to care about all Americans. They're not supposed to be concerned if their members are beardos, if they're wearing a beard, or what did he call they call it, overweight people fatties? This is a guy who had a makeup room constructed for himself. I don't need all of that nonsense, all of the histrionics from a Secretary of Defense. I need him to exude stability, to exude maturity and seriousness. That's it. That's what I want to see from my Secretary of Defense. I don't care if his hair is perfect and he talks like a Fox News host, because that is actually who he is. And it's probably one of the main reasons that Donald Trump chose him for that position. He chose a guy who has no gravitas at all. There were hundreds of generals ranking way higher than this guy, with way more experience, with way more under their belt, way more respect and command throughout the Pentagon than Pete Hegseth. He picked Pete Hegseth because he wanted someone he could push around and tell what to do. There was a certain member of the military. There was a certain Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, who is the guy in the upper left corner in that picture right there. That's Mark Esper. That was Trump's last Secretary of Defense from his first term. And Mark Esper was asked by Trump if he could shoot. Trump asked him if he could shoot protesters. Mark Esper told him no. And then Mark Esper was asked by Trump if he could shoot them in the legs, because just telling him no was insufficient. He wanted to see if there was a loophole. What about the legs? That's a good, you can hit him in the leg. No, that's an illegal order. So, to my friend, let's see what's his name there? You guys remember that guy's name? Let me scroll up here a little bit because I got to find you. I want to put your shit up there. Da, 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 da. Here we go. Mick the Quick says, "It's not a war crime, you morons. You guys repeat the same shit over and over and wonder why your party is dying." Okay, so there are three, not one, not two, but three different places where it's a war crime. And by it, I mean what Pete Hegseth is accused of is giving an order that caused a second strike of a boat in the Caribbean after the first strike left 2 people alive and just clinging to the remains of a boat. They were incapacitated. So the first one is the Second Geneva Convention from 1949, Article 12. And it states that wounded, sick, and shipwrecked members of armed forces at sea must be, quote unquote, respected and protected in all circumstances. That protection means they cannot be attacked if they are hors de combat, which means out of combat, incapacitated, shipwrecked, or otherwise unavailable to fight. Now, there's also a domestic United States law, the War Crimes Act of 1996, 18 USC 2441. Under that law, the quote-unquote murder of persons taking no active part in hostilities, including those placed out of combat by sickness, wounds, detention, or any other cause, is a war crime. That covers shipwrecked or incapacitated individuals if they are not actively fighting. And number 3, Mick the Quick, the U.S. military, rules of engagement and doctrine. According to the most recent version of the United States military's own Law of War manual, attacks on persons who are incapacitated, unconscious, or shipwrecked are forbidden. Quote, attacking shipwreck survivors is given as a classic example of, an illegal order, a soldier must refuse. Let me read that again. Attacking shipwreck survivors is given as a classic example of an illegal order, a soldier must refuse. Now, already during this broadcast, I've stated several times that I could not defend certain things, certain positions by people that I support, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Biden and Harris, but certain things I cannot defend. If you love this country, if you believe in the rule of law, if you're all about that law and order, then you know that war crimes are unacceptable. I've just listed three different instances. Take your pick: international, domestic, and military. Across the board, he is wrong. So here's what's happening. You guys remember not too long ago, that guy who was, I think he was from Maryland. He was a father. He was accidentally apprehended by ICE and then deported and then sent to El Salvador. Cannot remember his name for the life of me. Some of you guys, one of you guys are going to be out there and you can remind me. But he was wrongly detained, and the Trump administration, the Trump regime, kept saying he is a member of a gang and he's a terrorist. And we were like, Abrego. Thank you, Monique Lee. Yeah, Kilmar Abrego? Yeah, I think that's his name. They kept saying he's a terrorist, he's a drug dealer. Like, okay, where's your proof? Because this is America. We're all about due process. Show us the proof. Show us the papers. Show us the evidence. Because God forbid this turns into a country where if you are the party in power and you have people that you deem undesirable, that you would rather they not be in this country, and all you have to say is, well, he's a terrorist. Says who? How about you, Mick the Quick? How would you like it if the next Democratic administration looks at your social media posts and they're like, you know what? This guy's a terrorist. What? It's due process, man. You have a right to a trial to determine that. You have a right to defend yourself in court against those accusations before any action is taken against you. This is America, man. This isn't some like third world country where people can just come, cover their faces and grab you and put you. Actually, that it is now. That is what we are now. That is why that guy ended up in El Salvador. They just grabbed him. So the Trump regime, that's their catch-all rationale, their excuse for illegal shit that they're doing. The U.S. carries out its 22nd strike on alleged drug vessel operated by a designated terrorist organization. And so let me ask you guys this, right? Drug dealers, how do you think they get rich? You think they get rich just because, a lot of people want to buy their product? Or do they get rich? They're successful because they know how to manage that illegal activity. And by know how to manage it, if you send somebody out with a package of drugs and you send them down a certain street and they keep getting robbed, you don't send them down that street anymore. 22 very high-profile military strikes on these boats that's very suspicious to me. It's very suspicious. Drug dealers are not known for giving their shit away, giving millions and millions of dollars of drugs to the ocean. That's not how they get rich. Okay. So I'm very curious. I'm even wondering if these are strikes at all. And if it's not just AI. Bear with me here. That sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but I can't wrap my brain around why a drug dealer would constantly send, he has access to the news, to TV and all that. He's a drug dealer. He's got millions and millions of dollars. He has people who will contact him who probably has satellite. He probably has some kind of satellite too. There's no way that these guys are like, well, just send another boat with loaded full of drugs, $10 million, $50 million worth of drugs. Nah, something else is going on. Something else is going on because why is the Trump regime executing people at sea without congressional oversight? They're saying, oh, well, these are drug dealers. Okay, that's the Coast Guard's job. The Coast Guard's job is to interdict and apprehend, arrest, and take their product away. That's their job. That's what they do. The military, if you want to declare war, that's another thing, because you had these people just the other day, I think it was yesterday, Congress was allowed to view the last video from that double strike when you had the two survivors hanging on to a boat. They got to view that video. And that video was very clear. Pete Hegseth said, well, there's a fog of war that prevented them from seeing what was going on. First of all, that's not what fog of war means. The fog of war just means the confusion on the ground. That's what the fog of war. It's not a literal fog, dumbass. Video apparently is very high resolution, and you can clearly make out whether or not, there are beardos in that water, whether it's a man or a woman, all that stuff. The people, the members of Congress who saw that video yesterday said it was very disturbing. In fact, here's a clip of Representative Himes here.
What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. Under the DoD manual for abiding by the laws of armed conflict, the specific example given of an impermissible action is attacking a shipwreck. Any American who sees the video that I saw will see the United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors. People will someday see this video and they will see that that video shows, if you don't have the broader context, an attack on shipwrecked sailors.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. So I definitely hope that they share those. I hope they share that video with us so everybody can see. Meanwhile, Pete Hegseth has been tweeting about this, and it's kind of disgusting. First of all, last week, he tweeted this, I guess it's an AI book cover here. Franklin targets narco terrorists. And it's a picture of, I guess, a beloved children's book character, Franklin the turtle, shooting narco terrorists. Also, by the way, those boats filled with drugs, they don't look anything like the videos or pictures that we've seen from that. But yeah, as Chuck Schumer puts here, he says, I've never seen someone so unserious, so childish, and so obviously insecure serving as Secretary of Defense as Pete Hegseth. The man is a national embarrassment. Now, there's another person who, Chuck Schumer is someone who is been disappointing to me. But I agree with them wholeheartedly, 100% with that sentiment there. And there was another tweet that for some reason I can't see it, where somebody said, wait, let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. Justin Amash posted, Hegseth reposted this as though it helps his case. He might be the most incompetent person in the administration. That these guys, quote unquote, were still in the fleet is no fight. Nobody has alleged any armed engagement, and they're hundreds of miles from U.S. shores. So their constant drumbeat is, if you don't agree with the way they are illegally conducting their anti-drug operation, then you're for the cartel leaders, drug dealers. It's not the case at all. In fact, you guys already know I'm 22 and a half years and still going strong. I am not sure what just happened there, but I just completely lost my feed. Wait, somebody said no audio. Can you guys hear me? I see you, Diane London. Can you guys hear me okay? Because strangely enough, I was talking about Hegseth got him. No, I'm back, guys. Just let me know you can hear me so I can continue. And let me just get my, isn't that weird? I'm talking shit about the military and Steve and Pete Hegseth in particular, and my shit goes kablooey. So let's fast forward to where I was. Okay, yeah, so there I was. So originally, when this whole thing came out about illegal orders, when the Constitutional Six came out and said you do not have to obey illegal orders, I originally thought that they were referring to that instance where Mark Esper said that Trump asked him, can he shoot protesters? And actually, there was a time, you guys remember this infamous photo where Trump was holding the Bible up in front of a church? He had this photo op he wanted to do, but he wanted to clear the streets of protesters. He had, I think it was the Metro Police, shoot protesters with rubber bullets and tear gas. Yeah, not a joke. So I thought originally when that video came out from the Constitutional Six, I thought that's what they were referring to, right? Because there was yet another instance where, what was her name? Where Alyssa Slotkin confronted Pete Hegseth in a Senate hearing, and Pete Hegseth refused to answer her questions about whether or not he would give an illegal order to shoot protesters. And in fact, she had to tell him, don't laugh. Like, dude, this is what I meant when I said that Pete Hegseth completely exudes that energy of a frat boy. Here's a clip right now.
Have you given the order to be able to shoot at unarmed protesters in any way? I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way, my colleagues across the aisle.
What is that based on? What evidence would you have that an order like that has ever been given?
Giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in the uniformed military to do something that I know in my gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So your poo-pooing of this, it just shows you don't understand who we are as a country, who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military. I love the military. I served alongside my whole life, so I'm worried about you tainting it. Have you given the order? Have you given the order that they can use lethal force against honor? I want the answer to be no. Please tell me it's no. Have you given the order?
Senator, I'd be careful what you read in books and believing it, except for the Bible.
Oh my God. So your former predecessor, I guess that's not enough for you. Okay, on Iran.
The dude could not even answer a straight question. That is, by the way, it's a yes or no question. The answer should be no. I did not give an order for my soldiers to commit war crimes. He couldn't even answer definitively. That's like asking Donald Trump, for instance, that's like asking Donald Trump, would you pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted? They should have asked him the question like this. Would you consider pardoning convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell? Because all I've ever seen from Donald Trump as far as Ghislaine Maxwell is concerned is complete deference, complete respect. He will not say one nasty or even harsh things. He said really terrible things about a lot of Americans who are not child sex traffickers or pedophiles. He said a lot of nasty things about people in Congress, about a Catholic bishop who asked him to show mercy. But this woman, he won't definitively say, no, I won't grant her a pardon. That's kind of crazy. It almost makes me feel like, yeah, he's going to pardon her. He's definitely going to pardon her. Oh, look at that. Monique Lee agrees. Let me know in the comments if you think Trump is going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. And if you don't think he is, tell me why. Even Trump himself posted on his True Social thing, he posted this plaque. Makes no sense. This was when he was in the middle of saying that the so-called seditious six should be hanged. Says here, while in the second paragraph, while many other nations have suffered military coups, the United States never has. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. So it's crazy. Like on one side of their mouth, they're like, yeah, you can't, you cannot follow an illegal order. And the other side of the mouth, they're saying, hang them. It makes no sense. I'm laughing, but it really isn't a laughing matter. We have crazy people in charge and dangerous people and people who think that they're above the law. And I disagree. I think that Pete Hegseth does dishonor to the position, to the Pentagon, and to the United States of America. He's not a stand-up guy. He doesn't have the back of, who was the guy? Admiral, I want to say it's Admiral Brady. That's not it. But the guy who he actually gave the order to, who he's now rolled under the bus, he has to answer for this. And he's actually come out and said, no, he didn't tell me to kill everybody. But we know that's bullshit. And he's trying to cover for Hegseth. This whole thing is a clusterfuck. I'm trying not to use the F word just because I feel like, YouTube kind of punishes me for doing that. So it is neither here nor there. So as I was saying earlier, Donald Trump's cabinet is chock full of sycophants, of people who are only there to prop up his ego. Did any of you guys catch earlier today there was a FIFA drawing FIFA World Cup event, and they actually gave this guy a FIFA Peace Prize because he couldn't get the real one. If there ever was a participation trophy, that was it. That was it. That's embarrassing. I would not accept that if I were him. But he says, "Oh, this is so great. Look, they see it. They acknowledge me." That's crazy. Crazy. So anyway, Spanky was sleepy this week. He was, in fact, 2 days in a row, he was videotaped falling asleep in major high-profile meetings. Like, this cabinet meeting was being broadcast by multiple cable news stations, and that man could not keep his eyes open. It was funny as hell. Meanwhile, President Biden is living his best life. President Biden is wide awake, and this picture was taken this weekend. And President Biden was in Nantucket, and he, I think he once met a man from Nantucket. I forget how that goes. Anyway, President Biden's living his best life, and Spanky can barely stay awake. And clowns like Jake Tapper, believe it or not, Jake Tapper just, I just saw a clip where he was making excuses for Trump, saying that that his falling asleep all the time isn't unusual at all. Really? He's like, yeah, he's 79 years old. Well, where was your grace when it came to President Biden? You wrote a whole freaking book about how it was unusual. I can't with you, Jake Tapper. Disgust me. So anyway, Spanky did wake up long enough to uncork the nastiest thing about Ilhan Omar, and in specifically Ilhan Omar, but then in general, Somalians in Minnesota. I think the Somalians in Minnesota are kind of catching a stray one from Trump because of his anger with Tim Walz. Tim Walz, who he used the R slur on Thanksgiving. He posted a Truth Social or a tweet, whatever, and he called Tim Walz the R slur. And I know a lot of people on Twitter have started using that again because Elon Musk had started using it over and over, and they're like, oh, we can use it now, it's back. So now you can use a hurtful word. Good for you. Congratulations. Anyway, Donald Trump was complaining that Ilhan Omar complains all the time in the middle of his own complaining rants. Who's complaining about this and complaining about that? And by the way, let me also complain about someone who complains too much. But he was using that as a reason for why Ilhan Omar should, quote unquote, go back to where she came from. If I had $1 for every time somebody had told me, American man Majid Padelin, born and raised here, my parents born and raised here, go back to where I came from. Well, I'm here. This is where I came from. That is like, go back to where you came from is like the bigots, the bigots' national anthem. Go back to where you came from. So your belief then, Donald Trump, is that people who complain about America don't have the right to be here? So for all those years, when you were out of office, when it was either President Obama or President Biden in office, and you were complaining nonstop about the way things are here in America, it was fine for you, but other people of color, maybe just Democrats, whatever, whoever you feel like, just we don't belong here because reasons? It's ridiculous. Anyway, I allowed myself to get caught up in that bullshit, which I shouldn't have, because I should have known better that was a distraction. That is what Donald Trump does when his back is against the wall, when he is losing in the polls, losing so much ground. Here's Harry Enton, who cannot believe his eyes. He's listing all these different polls, 5 different polls that have him in negative territory, when the best poll he had was Trump had was Marquette, had him only at -14. Only -14. So when Donald Trump is feeling pressured, when he feels like the walls are closing in, he'll throw out some red meat for his base, which also gets us libs in a tizzy, and we forget to keep attacking him on affordability, on the Epstein files, it's on healthcare. That gives him some breathing room. We can be distracted by, he said racist things. He's always going to say racist things because a significant portion of his base eats that up, So lesson learned, do not go for the old head fake, the old racist head fake. That is really what he does here. This is a great cartoon. By the way, I just put it here because I wanted to share it with you. It says here, what happened to lower prices? Do you have a healthcare plan? He's sleeping. Are you really deporting the worst of the worst? Still sleeping. What about the Epstein files? Still sleeping. Are you committing war crimes? Sleeping. And then finally, he wakes up long enough to say, it's all Sleepy Joe Biden's fault. That, in a nutshell, is what we are living through right now. It's insane. I can't tell you how tired I am of watching a Trump press briefing or whatever, and every other sentence is Sleepy Joe Biden. He's still calling him sleepy. He falls asleep twice a week on camera, still calling Joe sleepy. That's insanity. He does so many things that are just unhinged, batshit crazy, like the affordability thing. Affordability, he says, is a hoax here. And Chuck Schumer, I guess he's feeling the heat, and he realizes that he has to start doing something that's not stupid and or stupid or weak. And he posted a very helpful comparison video here that I'm going to share with you guys. Check this out.
Starting on day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam. One of my top priorities will be to quickly defeat inflation and make America affordable again. I don't want to hear about the affordability. We will make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable again. There's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. Affordability is a con job. We will target everything from car affordability to housing affordability. This whole thing is, they use the word affordability. It's a Democrat hoax. Starting on day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again.
Okay. I thought that was a brilliant video clip to post because I thought it was brilliant because that's a perfect encapsulation of his doublespeak. It wasn't that long ago. It was just last year. Affordability was the thing he was talking about. But guess what, guys? He has realized that he can't do shit about affordability. He can't lower prices. The prices keep going up, and they're going to continue to go up unless somebody does something like what Kamala Harris was talking about. And Kamala Harris was saying that we should force companies not to engage in price gouging. That was a great idea. That's what we could have had. We should have had. But we don't. Instead, we do have a silver lining on the cloud that was the election on Tuesday in Tennessee. That election was between Aftyn Behn and what was that guy's name? Van Epps, I think. Anyway, she did not win. She wasn't expected to. Never was. And in fact, honestly, I don't know why she was the main candidate, because she has some stuff that she said about like Nashville. Apparently, she said she's not a fan of Nashville. But she freaking Nashville is like that's like running for office in New York City and saying you don't like Brooklyn. Like, what? It's your most popular area and you don't like Van Epps. Thank you. But yeah, despite that, and despite saying she didn't like country music, she came close. I think she lost by, 10 points? Lost by 10 points, which not bad for a plus 22 district. People were saying, but Brooklyn, why are you celebrating like this is a win? I know it's technically not a win. However, stay with me here. Going into Tuesday, she was competitive in a plus 22 district. She was so competitive that this woman who doesn't like country music and doesn't like Nashville only lost by 10 points, not 22. Despite the fact that millionaires were pouring millions of dollars into this race to defeat her. It took millions of dollars for her to only lose by 10 points. What does that mean for the races across the country? All of a sudden, now you have a race that's plus 8 or plus 9, where let's say the DNC would not put resources into that because, well, it's plus 9, we can't win there. Oh, really? The needle has moved. The barometer has changed. Possibilities are endless. So yeah, what was previously an unwinnable plus 8 or plus 9 district now is competitive. And that, my friends, is why I am optimistic. I'm excited and looking forward to possibilities. Yeah, look at that. This wasn't the final. I don't even know. Anybody out there know what the final result, the final tally was? Because this was from that night. I only had a picture of 75.1%, but I think she was down by 10 in the end. Let's talk about Kash Patel. And did you guys know he had a girlfriend? Kash Patel, man, that dude does not go anywhere without his girlfriend. And when I say he doesn't go anywhere without her, I mean he misuses FBI, government, federal resources to fly her all around the country, whether or not it's business related. Now, of course, being in the FBI, he could basically say that everything is business related. Wherever I go is an investigation. So yeah, when I say they go everywhere together, like they're inseparable, it's kind of surprising. so surprising to me. Joanne Kennedy wants to know, does he pay her to be around? I don't think he pays her to be around. As Smila J is saying, Patel's girlfriend is a honeypot, from what I understand. So let me see if I understand the definition of honeypot, and you correct me if I'm wrong. A honeypot is someone who is put in place to have an influence on a person of influence. So a lot of people like to talk about Republicans, MAGA. They like to refer to this woman named Fang Fang. Fang Fang apparently was a Chinese spy who got within close proximity of one of our congressmen, and that became, they never let that go now. So it's a Matahari. It's a woman who's like a spy who doesn't really love that person, but is there to extract information and possibly to influence decisions that person makes, et cetera, et cetera. Am I close there, Asmila J? She says, yep, I got it. Ka-ching. All right. So anyway, the most recent, Kash Patel has been under fire because of his misuse of resources due to his girlfriend, really. And if she was smart, she would step back and say, I'm sorry, like, I don't want to get you in trouble. You focus on your shite. But he is so whipped that he can't. So apparently her girlfriend, her friend, got drunk, right? And instead of calling an Uber, which that should have been the go-to, Kash Patel's girlfriend goes to the SWAT guys that are guarding her and asks, can you drive my friend home? And they tell her, that's not our job. We're not required to do that. That is not our assignment. No. Then she gets Kash Patel involved. And then Kash Patel overrides that dude and says, take the drunk girl home. So yeah, Kash Patel is in the middle of of a shitstorm of his own making. Enter now the pipe bomber. You guys remember that? The pipe bomber from January 5th, that mysterious figure who we all swore was Marjorie Taylor Greene, but ended up not being. We were looking at the posture and the presumed height and what looked like, lady shoes. Dude, how are you explaining this away? It turned out to be someone by the name of Brian Cole Jr. He's a Trump supporter. You heard that right. Brian Cole Jr. apparently is, he's told sources, I can't confirm this, but he is apparently told sources that he supported Trump. Now, does that mean that he still supports Trump? I don't know. But it does mean that he is a Trump supporter at some point. I mean, if you were a Trump supporter but are no longer, would you represent it as such? Would you be like, yeah, of course, yeah, I'm still a Trump supporter, If you're not a Trump supporter, you're not going to say that. You're not going to tell anyone that you are a Trump supporter because it's kind of embarrassing. So there was a press briefing in which Pam Bondi, of course, was her usual partisan self. Instead of being professional, she turned this pipe bomber thing into, look how great we are and look how bad the Biden administration was for not having found this pipe bomber. And it's weird to me because it's like, I remember when President Obama caught and located and then had Osama bin Laden killed. I remember that. I don't remember him during his speech saying, look at that buffoon who was before me, who was in the Oval Office before me. He couldn't catch this guy, but I caught him. You know, that's why do that? Because we're all supposedly on the same team, right? It's not like, you know, our team got him, yours didn't. No, we're the same team, especially if you are in charge of the Department of Justice. Goodness gracious. But yeah, let me show you, like, because the first half of her speech was actually somewhat regular. But after that, she went off the rails as usual.
Happened because the Trump administration has made this case a priority. The total lack of movement on this case in our nation's capital undermined the public trust of our enforcement agencies. This cold case languished for 4 years until Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino came to the FBI.
Now, I have to stop right there because it's so ridiculous on so many different levels. It's so ridiculous. This guy, Kash Patel, who, come on, you mean to tell me in between all of the flights, private jet flights he's taking all over the country and going to this MMA fight and going to this Vegas and all over the place, he somehow found the time to find the pipe bomber? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Honestly, I think they took a bunch of names and pinned them up on a dartboard, and they threw darts, and whichever name got the most darts in it ended up being the suspect. And that's where we got Brian Cole Jr. because he's still a suspect. He's been charged, right? But he's still a suspect. It doesn't matter what he says right now. Everything is hearsay. You know, sources say he was a Trump supporter. Maybe, you know, by the end of the week, we'll find out he was an anarchist, because I've heard that too, that he was possibly an anarchist. And then by February, nobody will even be talking about him anymore. The same way, this is the smoke and mirrors thing that the Trump regime frequently employs and that the media goes for all the time. Trump often has press briefings where he announces $500 billion in investments pledged by Japan. He was doing that in his first term too. Trillions of dollars in pledges, right? And he's turning those pledges are basically, trust me, bro, I got you. It's like a promise. It's like meaningless. It's nothing. It's nothing signed on paper. There's no commitment. It's just one guy to another saying, yeah, we'll throw some we'll throw some investments your way. What do you want to call it? Let's call it $500 billion. That sounds like a big amount. Nobody's going to remember. And sure enough, months later, nobody remembers. Years later, after Donald Trump's first term, there were times when he had this big thing, this big ribbon cutting ceremony at, I forget, it was like Fox, some Fox business, something. It was supposed to bring in like $6 billion. That whole operation closed. Nothing happened with it. No investments, no nothing. Speaking of which, I totally forgot this point that I wanted to make about the drug thing. If the Trump regime is so determined, is so interested in fighting drug trafficking, why did Donald Trump pardon the former Honduran president Hernandez, who is responsible for tracking for trafficking 400 million tons? I think it was 400 million tons of cocaine, like a lot of cocaine. They just let him go. And his reason was it was a Biden, it was a Biden hoax. This guy, he's saying that Joe Biden got the former president of Honduras convicted off of just a hoax. It's crazy, and people go for that. What? Why? I don't understand it. 400 tons. Thank you, Sterling Silver Rose. Yeah, 400 tons is a shit ton, because 1 ton is 2,000 pounds times 400. Do the math. I'm not going to do it. So I was talking about what the Trump administration does and why it matters with this pipe bombing thing. They've made this big dog and pony show, right? We've all seen it. It's all burned into our memory where we remember they caught the pipe bomber, right? But then somebody asked about it, and both Pam Bondi, Dan Bingo Bongo Bango, who, by the way, he was asked, Dan Bongino was asked, like they said, hey, previously you said that it was an inside job by the FBI. You want to just address that? And he was like, yeah, I was a podcaster and, I was getting paid to say stuff. What? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. So yeah, he's just basically saying I was full of shit, but now I'm not. But anyway, by February or March, nobody will remember this, but it helps to get Kash Patel off the hot seat. He's on the hot seat right now because of his girlfriend. But what did Pam Bondi do? She gave him a shout out right up front. She said, "Thank this Hunt just languished for. I wish he would talk regular. She talks so. This case, so covered with dust, and the President Trump." So annoying how she talks, she's got to punch every other word. Stop it. Stop being so fucking dramatic and just deliver the information, right? You don't have to praise Donald Trump with every other sentence, for crying out loud. Oh, it's Brad with a very interesting comment here. So you're all okay with them making $200K a year and have free health care, and they only work a quarter of a year. Isn't that some shit? That's some shit. But let me finish up, Brad. That is it's an excellent comment there. Yeah. So she basically used, in my opinion, they're using this pipe bomber thing as, I hate to say it, yet another distraction. It's something that gets Kash Patel off the hot seat, and for a hot minute, it diverts the news cycle from Donald Trump's many failures into, now this is a positive thing. Hey, and that's why she made the point of saying it sat under Joe Biden's desk. Joe Biden had these files under his desk and they were collecting dust. That's what they want you to think. President Biden, have you seen those files? The pipe bomber? Nope, haven't seen them. Nope. Collecting dust under his desk. Yeah, they're just using this to get each other off the hot seat and distract us sheep, cattle who are not paying attention. I am paying attention. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm tired of having to second guess everything. It is tiresome. I don't believe much of what I see and only half of what I hear. everything now is confirm first. And here's another great comment here from the Trump Reaper. I can think of two presidents who aren't in the Epstein files, Biden and Obama. Did you guys see that stuff that came out this week? There was a video. This video that came out yesterday, I think it was, Wednesday, that showed footage on the island, and it took you through the different rooms where Epstein and his cohorts were doing their evil. And I say evil, I'm so freaking mad that they still haven't released those goddamn files. What are you waiting for? December 19th officially will make 30 days. December 19th. What day is today? Is the 5th. So next week is the 12th. They have 2 more weeks to release those files. December 19th, they have to release them. But why have you not already? You had them the whole year. What are you waiting for? They showed, first of all, they were talking about how some of the victims, all of the victims, were required to walk around nude all the time, to the point where they pointed out if one of them was having a discussion with a kitchen worker, they would be completely undressed while speaking to that kitchen worker. They didn't even have the dignity to be allowed to wear a sweater or a robe or anything. That's awful, awful, awful. Then they showed video. They took a video tour through the mansion, through the compound, and there was this room that had like a dentist chair. God knows what they were doing in there. And there was, I don't know if it was the same room, but there was another room that had masks on the wall. Masks. Like, think of that movie Eyes Wide Shut, where they had their creepy weirdo orgies or whatever. And one mask in particular kind of looked like Ted Cruz. Gross. Just absolutely, absolutely gross. Why anyone would delay the release of this stuff is beyond me. It's beyond me, especially when Donald Trump, made such a big deal out of releasing those files. That was his promise. Is one of his big promises. He promised on day one he was going to lower prices. He promised on day one he was going to end the Ukraine war, and he promised that he was going to release the Epstein files. Strike one, strike two, strike three. Swing, miss, you're out. So, and I don't know, did I talk about that? I did talk about that participation trophy today. It's so ridiculous. Guys, what questions do you have for me? I see I've run myself a little bit late on schedule. I apologize for that. Do you have any questions for me? I don't remember what I'm watching this weekend. I'm sure it's going to be some type of movie or TV show. I love my TV. I'll probably be doing, also, I am totally behind on putting up my Christmas decorations, so I will be putting up, I will be spending a lot of time this weekend putting up Christmas decorations. What did I name the kittens? Okay, so one of them we have to rename because it ended up being a girl, not a boy. Originally was going to be Fat Louie. I don't remember what we had for Fat Louie. We're changing that name, but Peaches. Okay, so it's Chicky, Ducky, Peaches, Bear, and Goose. Goose was the littlest one, and Goose is doing great right now. He just he wouldn't drink milk, he wouldn't take to the nipple, and then finally we got a bottle that we were trying to feed him manually, and he didn't really want that. And eventually, I guess he looked at the difference between our, man-made nipple and his mama's nipple, he was like, oh, well, that's much better. Take that. So he's doing much, much better. He's very, he's growing again. We measure them, we weigh them on a little scale that originally, it's like a kitchen scale that I was using to measure my coffee, the coffee beans when I was making coffee. And so they're so tiny. They're little. You could fit, I could hold 2 in one hand. They're tiny. And just today, they started opening their eyes. And I had meant to, actually, I guess I still can. Hang on. Let me just add this. I'll show you. I have the pictures on my thing here. What's this? This is video clips. No, I can't do it. Let me just show you on my phone here. Look at that. So little. Oh, this one is great. Look at that. He's got his paws, little feet up, and this one. Aw, right, you guys. So cool. So obviously we can't keep these kittens, and but they're super cute. We already have enough cats as it is. This is my favorite picture. Come on now. Focus. There we go. There he is. Adorable. Okay. Let's see. I swear I saw some other questions up here. Oh. Okay, here we go. From Trump Reaper. How many people do we need in Congress to compel billionaires to pay taxes? I'm going to say 60, minimum 60 in the Senate. Nothing happens without the Senate approving it. You know, we've gotten so many different bills through the House, but once it gets to the Senate, it's dead. And so I think 60 and maybe 66 is a veto-proof majority, I think. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. Oh, wow, look at this. Jennifer Rayner is almost 6 weeks no cigarettes. Congratulations, my friend. Well done. That's excellent. I know. Holy cow. It was, I'm almost, I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 years. It's either 3 or 4 years that I quit cigarettes. And that was, oh my goodness, that's still tough. That is still like, even after, trust me, Jen, you have to be vigilant on that, because it's been 3 or 4 years, and every once in a while, I would say like once a month, I'll be watching a show and somebody is smoking on the TV or whatever, and I swear I can smell the cigarette smoke. And it's not like it's that stinky. It's like, oh, it's like nostalgic good. Just let it pass, right? Tell yourself, this too shall pass. If you feel yourself with an urge, that got me through 22 years of sobriety, just that this too shall pass. Just let that thought come and go. That's that. Okay. But yeah, congratulations, Jen. That's awesome. Lucy says Peaches was her cat. That's sweet. I see a lot of cat lovers here in the audience there. I love you guys. You guys are sweet. Yeah, Sharon says here, Sharon Landry says cigarettes is the hardest addiction to quit. Agree. Oh, okay. There you go. It's 4 years. Thank you, Jen. She said she tried it when I did 4 years ago. There we go. Good to know. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, a.k.a. Brooklyn Dad. Hey, whatever happened to that Mick the Quick? Did he stay or did he leave? Was he humiliated? Because I was ready. Sometimes I wish reporters, journalists would come ready like the way I did. I had this shit. Guys, I'm old school, so I'm still using paper notes and whatnot. I had my notes specifically. Why is it illegal? I was ready to go. Excuse me. Reporters, please start doing that stuff. You know who is good at that? George Stephanopoulos is good at that. And Jonathan Karl is good at that. I can't think of who else, but start coming prepared to these interviews. Stop letting Trump regime members push you around. Stop letting them filibuster. That's what they like to do. You ask them a question, they're going to walk you all the way around the block and your eyes glaze over and you forget that you're on a time limit because we have words from our sponsors, so you can't let them talk forever, but they know that you are time limited. So that's why they do that, and you can't let them do that. Listen, I'm on a tight schedule here. Answer my fucking question or you can get the hell out. What's what they should do. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me again, and I look forward to seeing you here, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.